Hey everybody, this is John the Other, obviously. Now, a lot of people listening to this channel are going to know already what MGTOW is. But I set up a survey a couple of days ago asking people what kinds of topics they were most interested in, and I suggested 5 different topics, including MGTOW, and you can guess which one came out ahead of the others. In last place was Prime Minister Zoolander, getting only 5% of the votes. Nobody cares about Canada's little potato, obviously. In second place came in the Family Court with 11% of the votes, which actually surprised me. In a tie for third and fourth place in the survey was Campus Social Justice Warrior Stupidity, along with Feminist Jurisprudence. Both of those got 12% of the votes, and ahead of all the others, with 60% of the votes, was MGTOW. So today, I want to revisit a question that seems to have no answer that anybody can agree on. What is MGTOW? Now, I'll start by saying what I'm going to say here is in no way a prescription or a rule for anybody to follow. What I'm going to try to do is define MGTOW in the context of the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. This is a social phenomenon most often summarized as men who avoid long-term committed relationships with women, and in particular, men who do not marry because they see marriage as a dangerous and destructive trap. It is, of course, individualistic, and every man plotting a MGTOW path is going to have different standards for himself. Because of this, it's probably more interesting to try to describe MGTOW than it is to create a universal definition. The mainstream left have a theory, of course, their theory being that men are toxic or that they suffer from an affliction called toxic masculinity. And their answer to this is public humiliation campaigns funded by men's own taxes. I don't think I need to explain to anybody how stupidly corrupt that answer actually is. But we are at the end of 2017 in a period of history in which it has been normal and socially acceptable in mainstream to slander, to demean, and endlessly belittle men and boys as a reliable public entertainment for at least the last 30 years. We are also at the beginning of a new and never-before-seen level of sexual moral panic, in which within mainstream commentary the courts have ceased to be the venue where sexual crimes are resolved. Now, far from just removing the legal protections of due process and presumed innocence, women have innovated the handling of sexual offenses so that it is now praiseworthy and noble to abbreviate that often years-long investigation, inquiry, trial, collection of evidence, and court hearing into the just few seconds it takes to type an anonymous accusation into Twitter. In addition, normal, healthy, and previously acceptable social behaviors such as flirting and sexually flavored humor have been blurred together with major crimes such as rape in the new improved digital execution chamber of the crowd-sourced, fact-free instant justice. A single awkward sexual pass made by you 20 years ago is all the crime you need to commit to have your career burned down to radioactive ash in a single afternoon. Now, on top of this, the old, slow-moving courts are also being innovated, perhaps in an effort to remain competitive with the speed and the low effort of hyper-efficient social media conviction. In Canada, while activists race to encode as law the most tedious Mother May I pantomime of consent, making legally acceptable sex into an absurd parody, at the same time, other activists also working to rewrite the law so that actual documentation of consent, if you have it, is barred from use by a defendant in a sex assault case. And both of these are happening at the same time. I wish I was making this up. And this next part is just my speculation, but it seems like the feminists and the activists driving these legal and social changes believe that women are so innately wonderful and so perfectly flawless that they really do believe there is no level of abuse and destruction men will tolerate just to bask in the warm glow of female divine presence. And that assumption, or maybe belief, that men will tolerate any level of abuse and destruction just to keep on chasing female validation is a false assumption. Some men have a rational sense of their own value, and their priorities do not include sacrificing their futures for some foolish reason or phony virtue. Men are walking away from the expectations placed on them regarding dating, marriage, career, and their role as social protector. Because for their troubles, they're being treated with non-stop contempt and abuse, and for their professional successes, they are being branded as criminals in a endless lightning round of Twitter-based, unspecified, anonymous accusation. And the answer to this from the mainstream is that men should try harder, pay more, and respect women better. And on top of that, the Me Too accusation movement that is now ruining lives over flirting faster than Marvel Comics can lose customers, just got voted as Collective Person of the Year by Time magazine. So digital anonymous vigilantism seems to be a-okay with the modern mainstream media ethic. And that public ethic is what men cannot tolerate. Now, there's a lot of talk within the MGTOW world as well as outsider commentary talking about men going their own way, and almost all of this talk is focused on women. Women are all evil. Women are all self-absorbed, narcissistic children. Women are all eager to initiate violence, either through white knights or through the state. That's within MGTOW. And outside commentary on MGTOW talks about almost the same thing, except in terms of MGTOW guys all hate women, or have focused on the wrong women, or have a jaundiced view of women. And for God's sakes, not all women are like that. Keep looking, guys. You'll find a good one, because by golly, there are good women out there, and desperate to connect with a real man, etc., and so on and so forth. But both sides of this commentary are missing the point. Within the MGTOW world, all women are evil, misses the point. And outside the MGTOW world, all MGTOW guys are either woman haters or bitter losers or unreconstructed man babies. This commentary misses the point too. So let's go back to that Time magazine Person of the Year, the silence breakers. Thousands of women, or maybe hundreds of thousands, all with stories of sexual assault ranging from a few weeks ago to 40 years ago. Oh, except for the fact that a major fraction of those stories are just normal, non-violent, perfectly healthy flirtations and sexual interactions. And I'm going to belabor this point. Normal, non-violent, healthy social interactions that have a sexual component to them. The behavior that healthy-minded people engage in and which is enjoyed by all grown-ups and sexually developing teenagers. Behavior that is positive and healthy, and which in recounting stories of 30 years later is being reframed as predatory, criminal, violent, and in that reframing, the fantasists selling the story are being lionized as heroic survivors. So we have a widespread, socially corrosive fraud costing thousands of people their careers, driving suicides, destroying families, and this is being praised as if it is heroic, stunning, and brave. And I know, mixed in with all of that 30-year-old story of flirtation and inappropriately stolen kisses, there is some actual sexual assault. I am not debating that some of the stories are of actual harassment. What I am pointing out here is that in mainstream, female-led public ethic, no distinguishment exists anymore between a friendly flirtation and a mentally deranged public masturbator. They have become equivalent crimes. And that is the new public standard of social ethics, which is to say that is the ethic that women, not men, that women have set in our society, because it is women who now and always have set the standard of what is moral and social. What is acceptable to women is, in the larger sphere of any culture, including ours, what is acceptable in the public ethic. And that ethic is now psychopathic, bigoted, ignoble, and uncivilized. Are there decent and moral women out there? Of course there are, sure, lots of them. Well, I mean, if not lots, then there's at least some. And that's not the point, though. The point is that the moral and ethical climate in which male-female interaction happens is now, and has been for a long time, a poisoned atmosphere. That is what women want. It's what they prefer. Witness, again, the Person of the Year nomination of an entire social movement which has decided collectively that there is no moral difference between a friendly social interaction and a violent rape. And to the few women who are not psychopathic, if you don't like the turn that our culture has taken, it will do you no good at all to appeal to men to step up and reassert some kind of reformed social standard. It is women and not men who are the ones who set that standard. But also, and this is a point a lot of people miss, let's imagine that somehow enough non-psychopathic women stand up and assert themselves as the creators of a less toxic moral standard in society. And let's assume that that is possible and that it can happen in a single generation. I'm being somewhat unrealistic to claim it can happen that fast, but let's say it does. There is still no going back. We will always know in the future, as we go forward, what a full articulation of the female ethic looked like. MGTOW is not a temporary adjustment to a period which will be seen in history as a temporary insanity. MGTOW is the new normal for men who are not completely stupid and self-destructive. And as I said, it really does not matter if not all women are like that. So for the people claiming to be different or to be not like that, Either you are too stupid to have been paying attention, or you're just another psychopath trying to run your destructive and dangerous scam, and it is no man's job to figure out which of those you are. So, thanks everybody for watching, thanks for listening, and to anybody who wants to support the channel, there's a link to Patreon in the low bar, and if you don't like Patreon, there's also a link to PayPal in the low bar. Thanks for listening, and as always, have a lovely day.